West London. We are in West London, but it's Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math, London, and we are continuing with the morning program, reading from Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. We are currently in Madhya-līlā, chapter 12. Today's text starting text 70. And what was happening? Who remembers? Oh, so this was the prince. The prince got the mercy of Mahaprabhu because the king wanted the mercy of Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu didn't want to meet with the king. So Jai Gurudev. So Mahaprabhu didn't want to meet with the king because it's not appropriate for a sannyasi, but he said, I'll meet with his son. So they had a nice little exchange, and then the son went back home and embraced his father, and the king got ecstatic love as if he had embraced the Lord himself. So that's where we are. But then we are going off on another tangent now, because the chapter is the cleansing of the Guṇḍicā temple. So we are getting to that point now. So Jai Sri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Advaita Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhaktivedānta.
Jai Sri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhaktivedānta.
Jai Shri Kṛṣṇa's Kavirāja ki Jai. Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki Jai. Okay, Acharya di Bhakti kare, Prabhura nimantran, tahan bhiksha kare, laya bhaktigan. Some of the prominent devotees like Advaita-Āchārya used to invite Mahaprabhu to take his meals at their homes. The Lord accepted such invitations accompanied by his devotees. E matananarange dina kattagela jaganatera rata yatra nikata hoila. In this way, the Lord passed some days in great jubilation. Then the car festival of Lord Jagannath approached. Pratame kashi mishre Prabhu bolaila paricha patra sarvabhaume bolaya anila. Mahaprabhu first of all called for Kashi Mishra, then for the superintendent of the temple, then for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Tina Jana Pashe Prabhu Hashiya Kahila Guṇḍicā Mandira Marjan Seva Maginila. When these three people came before the Lord, he begged them to wash the temple known as Guṇḍicā. Paricha kahe ami sabha sevaka tomar, jai tomara ichha se kartabya amar. Upon hearing the Lord's request for them to wash the Guṇḍicā temple, the Paricha, the superintendent of the temple, said, "My dear sir, we are all your servants. Whatever you desire is our duty to perform." Vishesha Rajara Agya Hinache Amar Prabhuragya Jai Se Shigra Karibare. The king gave a special order for me to do without delay whatever your lordship orders. Very nice. Tomara Jogya Seva Nahi Mandira Majan Ekalila Kara Jetamaraman. My dear Lord, washing the temple is not service befitting you. Nonetheless, if you wish to do so, it is to be accepted as one of your pastimes. Kintu gata samarjani bahuta chahiye agyadeha aji sabha ihan anidiye. To wash the temple, you need many waterpots and brooms. Therefore, order me. I can immediately bring all these things to you. Nuttana ekashata gata shata samarjani paricha aniya dila prabhura itchajani. As soon as the superintendent understood the desire of the Lord, he immediately delivered 100 new water pots and 100 brooms for sweeping the temple. Ardine prabhate loya nijagan Shri haste sabara ange lepila chandan. The next day, early in the morning, the Lord took his personal associates with him and with his own hand smeared sandalwood pulp on their bodies. Sri Haste Dila Sabari Ekka Marjani Sabagana Loya Prabhu Chalila Apani. He then gave each devotee a broom with his own hand, and taking all of them personally with him, the Lord went to Guṇḍicā. Guṇḍicā Mandira Gela Karite Marjana Pratame Marjani Laya Karila Shodana. In this way, the Lord and his associates went to cleanse the Guṇḍicā temple. At first, they cleansed the temple with brooms. Pitara Mandira Upara Sakala Majila Singhasana Majipuna Stapana Korila. The Lord cleansed everything inside the temple very nicely, including the ceiling. He then took up the sitting place, the Singhasan, cleansed it, and again put it in its original place. Chotabara Mandira Korila Majana Shoran Pache Tache Shorila Srijaga Mohan. Thus the Lord and his companions cleansed and swept all of the temple's buildings, big and small, and finally cleansed the area between the temple and the meeting place. Charidike Shattabhakta Samajani Kore Apanishodena Prabhu Shikaya Sabare. Indeed, hundreds of devotees were engaged in cleansing all around the temple, and Mahaprabhu was personally carrying out the operation just to instruct others. Premola se shodena layena Kṛṣṇanam Bhaktagana Kṛṣṇa kahe kare nijakam. Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the temple in great jubilation, chanting the holy name of Lord Kṛṣṇa all the time. Similarly, all the devotees were also chanting and at the same time performing their respective duties. Duli dushara tanu dekite shoban kahan kahan ashtu jale kore samarjan. The entire beautiful body of the Lord was covered with dust and dirt. In this way it became transcendently beautiful. At times, when cleansing the temple, the Lord shed tears, and in some places he even cleansed with those tears. Bhoga Mandira Shodana Kare Sodila Prangana Sakala Avasa Krame Karila Shodan. After this, the place where the deity's food was kept, the Bhoga Mandira, was cleansed. Then the yard was cleansed, and then all the residential quarters, one after the other. Trina Dule Junkara Saba Ekatra Kariya Bahirashe Loya Pelaya Bahira Kariya. After Mahaprabhu collected the straw, dust, and grains of sand in one place, he gathered it all in his cloth and threw it outside. Mata Bhaktagana Kore Nijavase Trinaduli Bahire Pelaya Parama Harishe. Following the example of Mahaprabhu, all the devotees in great jubilation began to gather straws and dust with their own cloths and throw them outside the temple. Prabhu kahe ke Caitanya-caritāmṛta samarjan trinaduli dekile janiba parishram. The Lord then told the devotees, I can tell you how much you have labored and how well you have cleansed the temple simply by seeing all the straw and dust you have collected outside. Sabara jantana bojha ekatra karila, sabahoite prabhura bojha adhika hoila. Even though all the devotees collected dirt in one pile, the dirt collected by Mahaprabhu was much greater. Mata abhyantara karila majan, punasavakare dila kariya vantan. After the inside of the temple was cleansed, the Lord again allotted areas for the devotees to cleanse. Sukshmaduli trina kanka sabakara hadura, balamate shodana karaha prabhura antarpura. The Lord then ordered everyone to cleanse the inside of the temple very perfectly by taking finer dust, straws, and grains of sand and throwing them outside. Sava Vaishnava Loya Jave Indui Bara Shodila Deki Mahaprabhura Mane Santosha Hoila. After Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas cleansed the temple for the second time, Mahaprabhu was very happy to see the cleansing work. Arashatta Janashatta Gate Jalabari Pratame Loya Ache Koila Apekshakori. While the temple was being swept and 100 men stood ready with filled water pots, while the temple was being swept, about 100 men stood ready with filled water pots, and they simply waited the Lord's order to throw them. Jalanna Boli Jabe Mahaprabhu Kahila Tabe Shatta Gatta Ani Prabhu Agedila. As soon as Mahaprabhu called for water, all the men immediately brought the 100 water pots, which were completely filled, and delivered them before the Lord. Pratame Karila Prabhu Mandira Prakshalan Udva Ado Biti Griha Madhya Singhasan. In this way, Mahaprabhu first washed the main temple and then thoroughly washed the ceiling, the walls, the floor, the sitting place, and everything else within the room. Kapara Bariya Jala Udve Chalaila Se Jale Udva Shodhi Biti Prakshalila. Mahaprabhu himself and his devotees began to throw water onto the ceiling. When this water fell, it washed the walls and floor. Sri Haste Karena Singhasanera Marjana Prabhu Age Jala Ani Deya Bhaktagan. Then Mahaprabhu began to wash the sitting place of Lord Jagannath with his own hands, and all the devotees began to bring water to the Lord. Bhaktagan Kare Griha Madhya Prakshalan Nija Nija Haste Kare Mandira Marjan. All the devotees within the temple began to wash. Each one had a broom in his hand, and in this way they cleansed the temple of the Lord. Keha Jal Ani Deha Mahaprabhu Rakare Keha Jal Deha Charana Upare. Someone brought water to pour into the hands of Mahaprabhu, and someone poured water on his feet. Keha Lukaya Kare Se Jalapan Keha Magi Laya Keha Anye Kare Dana. The water that fell from the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu was drunk by someone who hid himself. Someone else begged for that water, and another person was giving that water in charity. Garadui Pranalikaya Jalachari Dila Se Jale Prangana Saba Bariya Rahila. After the room was washed, the water was let out through an outlet, and it then flowed and filled the yard outside. Nijavastre Kaila Prabhu Griha Samarjan Mahaprabhu Nijavastre Majila Singhasan. The Lord mopped the rooms with his own clothes, and he polished the throne with them also. Shattagata Jale Hoila Mandira Marjan Mandira Shodiya Koila Jena Nijaman. In this way, all the rooms were cleansed with 100 water pots. After the rooms had been cleansed, the minds of the devotees were as clean as the rooms. Nimala Shitala Snigdha Koila Mandire Apana Hidaya Jena Darila Bahire. When the temple was cleansed, it was purified, cool and pleasing, just as if the Lord's own pure mind had appeared. Shatta Shatta Jana Jala Bare Saravare Gattastana Nahi Keha Rup Kupe Jala Bare. Since hundreds of men were engaged in bringing water from the lake, there was no place to stand on the banks. Consequently, someone began to draw water from a well. Purna Kumbha Laya Aise Shatta Bhaktagan Shunyagatta Laya Jaya Ara Shattajan. Hundreds of devotees brought water in the pots, and hundreds took the empty pots away to fill them up again. Nityananda Advaita Swarupa Bharati Puri Inhavinu Arasabha Ane Jala Bari. With the exception of Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Swarup Damodar, Brahmananda Bharati and Paramananda Puri, everyone was engaged in filling the water pots and bringing them there. Gate gate teki kata gata bangigela, shata shata gata loka tahan laya oila. When the water pots were many of the water pots were broken when people collided with one another, and hundreds of men had to bring new water pots to fill. Jalabare Garadoya, Kare Haridvani, Kṛṣṇa Haridvani Vina Ara Nahishuni. Some people were filling the water pots and others were washing the rooms, but everyone was engaged in chanting the holy name of Kṛṣṇa and Hari. Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa Kahi Kare Gatera Pratana, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa Kahi Kare Gapta Samarpan. One person begged for a water pot by chanting the holy names of Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa. And another delivered a pot while chanting Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa. Jai Jai Kahe Se Kahe Kṛṣṇanam, Kṛṣṇanam Ahoila Sankete Savakame. Whenever anyone had to speak, he did so by uttering the holy name of Kṛṣṇa. Consequently, the holy name of Kṛṣṇa became an indication for everyone who wanted something. Premaveshe Prabhu Kahe Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇanam, Ekale Premaveshe Kare Shatta Jane Rakam. As Mahaprabhu was vibrating the holy name of Kṛṣṇa in ecstatic love, he himself was performing the work of hundreds of men. Shatta Haste Karena Jena Kshalana Majan Pratijana Pashe Jai Karana Shikshan. It appeared as though Mahaprabhu were cleansing and washing with 100 hands. He approached everyone just to teach them how to work. Bala karma dekitare kare prasangshan manena milile kare pavitra batsan. When he saw someone doing nicely, the Lord praised him. But if he saw that someone was not working to his satisfaction, he immediately chastised that person, not bearing him any grudge. Tumi bala karyacha shikaya anyere, e mata bala karmo seo jena kare. The Lord would say, "You have done well. Please teach this to others so that they may act in the same way." E kata shuniya sabe sankuchita hoya, balamate karma kore sabe manadiya. As soon as they heard Mahaprabhu say this, everyone became ashamed. They thus began to work with great attention. Ashamed. Yeah. Tabe prakshalana koila Sri Jagamohan, Bogamandira Adi Tabe Kaila Prakshalan. They washed the Jagamohan area and then the place where food was kept. All other places were also washed. Nattashala Dui Duila Chatvara Prangan Prakshala Adi Kori Korila Prakshalan. In this way, the meeting place was washed, the entire yard, the raised sitting places, the kitchen, and every other room. Mandirera Chaturdik Prakshalana Koila Saba Antapura Bala Mate Doyaila. Thus, all the places around the temple were thoroughly washed within and without. Okay, well, we can maybe stop there. There's going to be a little sneaky thing about to happen, so we can hear that tomorrow. We can read a little bit from Sri Guru and His Grace, because we don't want to not hear from either Gurudev or Guru Maharaj every morning, of course. Jai, Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki jai, Sri Kṛṣṇadāsa Kavirāja ki jai. Okay, so we're starting Sri Guru and his grace. From the beginning, Okay, so this is a preface, and it is by Srila A.C. Bhaktivedānta Swāmī Prabhupād. Jai Srila Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. In 10 short years, Bhaktivedānta Swāmī Prabhupād inundated the world with Krishna consciousness. In the following excerpt from one of his essays, he smashes the sectarian misconception that the spiritual master is limited to a particular person, form, or institution, and establishes the universal conception of Guru. So it starts with, I guess this is the whole thing, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, starts with the from Gurvastakam. Shakshadarit-vena samasta sastre uktas tata bhavyata eva sadbhya. Kintu prabhoja priya evatasya bande guru sicharanaravindam. In the revealed scriptures, it is declared that the spiritual master should be worshipped like the supreme personality of Godhead. And this injunction is obeyed by pure devotees of the Lord. The spiritual master is the most confidential servant of the Lord. Thus, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of our spiritual master. Gentlemen, on behalf of the members of the Bombay branch of the Gaudiya Math, let me welcome you all because you have so kindly joined us tonight in our congregational offerings of homage to the lotus feet of the world teacher, Acharya Dev, who is the founder of this Gaudiya mission and is the president Acharya of Sri Sri Vishwa Vaishnav Rajya Sabha. I mean my eternal divine master, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajak Acharya, Sri Srimad Bhaktivedānta Saraswati Gosvāmī Maharaj. 62 years ago, on this auspicious day, the Acharya Dev made his appearance by the call of Thakur Bhakti Vinod at Sri Kshetra, Jagannath Dham in Puri. Gentlemen, the offering of such a homage as has been arranged this evening to the Acharya Dev is not a sectarian concern, for when we speak of the fundamental principle of Gurudev or Acharya Dev, we speak of something that is of universal application. There does not arise any question of discriminating my Guru from yours or anyone else's. There is only one Guru who appears in an infinity of forms to teach you, me, and all others. In the Mundaka Upanishad it is said, Tad vigyatang sa gurum eva bigachet samit pani shrotiram brahmanistam. In order to learn the transcendental science, one must approach the bona fide spiritual master in disciplic succession who is fixed in the absolute truth. Thus it has been enjoined herewith that in order to receive that transcendental knowledge, one must approach the Guru. Therefore, if the absolute truth is one, about which we think there is no difference of opinion, the Guru cannot be two. The Acharya Dev to whom we have assembled tonight to offer our humble homage is not the Guru of a sectarian institution or one out of many differing exponents of the truth. On the contrary, he is the Jagat Guru, or the Guru of all of us. The only difference is that some obey him wholeheartedly, while others do not obey him directly. In the Bhagavatam it is said, Acharyang mam vijnaniyam navam manyeta kahichis amatya buddhaya suyeta sav deva mayo guru. One should understand the spiritual master to be as good as I am, said the Lord. Nobody should be jealous of the spiritual master or think of him as an ordinary man, because the spiritual master is the sum total of all demigods. That is, the Acharya has been identified with God himself. He has nothing to do with the affairs of this mundane world. He appears before us to reveal the light of the Vedas and to bestow upon us the blessing of full-fledged freedom, after which we should hanker at every step of our life's journey. The transcendental knowledge of the Vedas was first uttered by God to Brahma, the creator of this particular universe. From Brahma, the knowledge was descended to Narad, from Narad to Vyasadeva, from Vyasadeva to Madhva, and in this process of disciplic succession, the transcendental knowledge was transmitted by one disciple to another till it reached Lord Gauranga, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who posed as the disciple and successor of Sri Ishvarapuri. The present Acharya Dev is the 10th disciplic representation from Sri Rupa Gosvāmī, the original representative of Lord Chaitanya, who preached this transcendental tradition in its fullness. The knowledge that we receive from our Gurudev is not different from that imparted by God himself, and the succession of the Acharyas in the preceptorial line of Brahma. We adore this auspicious day as Sri Vyasapuja Tithi because the Acharya is the living representative of Vyasadeva, the divine compiler of the Vedas, Purans, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam. We cannot know anything of the transcendental region by our limited, perverted method of observation and experiment. Means with our senses, right? But all of us can lend our eager ears for the oral reception of the transcendental sound transmitted from that region to this, through the unadulterated medium of Sri Gurudev or Sri Vyasadeva. Therefore, gentlemen, we should surrender ourselves today at the feet of the representative of Sri Vyasadeva for the elimination of all our differences bred by our unsubmissive attitude. It is accordingly said in the Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidi paripatina pariprashnena sevaya upadakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadashana. Just approach the wise and bona fide spiritual master. Surrender unto him first and try to understand him by inquiries and service. Such a wise spiritual master will enlighten you with transcendental knowledge, for he has already known the absolute truth. So that's the end of the translating text. To receive transcendental knowledge, we must completely surrender ourselves to the real Acharya in a spirit of ardent inquiry and service. Actual performance of service to the Absolute under the guidance of the Acharya is the only vehicle by which we can assimilate transcendental knowledge. I mean, that's quite a statement, isn't it? Actual performance of service to the Absolute under the guidance of the Acharya, right, means the Guru, is the only vehicle by which we can assimilate transcendental knowledge. Right? Otherwise it just stays as gyan, it's not realized. It can only become realized in our soul, in our actual true self, by seva to the Acharya, under the guidance of the Acharya. Today's meeting for offering our humble services and homage to the feet of the Acharya Dev will enable us to be favored with the capacity of assimilating the transcendental knowledge so kindly transmitted by him to all persons without distinction. Okay. Gentlemen, although it is imperfectly that we have been enabled by his grace to understand the sublime message from our Acharya Dev, we must admit that we have realized definitely that the divine message from his holy lips is the congenial thing for suffering humanity. All of us should hear him patiently. If we listen to the transcendental sound without unnecessary opposition, he will surely have mercy upon us. The Acharya's message is to take us back to our original home, back to God. Let me repeat, therefore, that we should hear him patiently, follow him in the measure of our conviction, and bow down at his lotus feet for releasing us from our present causeless unwillingness for serving the Absolute and all souls.
Here causeless from the Lord's side, but then from our side causeless unwillingness. We have no need to be unwilling. It's causeless, but
yeah. And that's that whole idea about, how did the soul come into this illusory environment? So there's some causeless way we got distracted.
Yeah, unnatural.
Sitting at the feet of the Acharya Dev, let us try to understand from this transcendental source of knowledge what we are, what is this universe, what is God, and what is our relationship with Him. The message of Lord Chaitanya is the message for the living entities and the message of the living world. Lord Chaitanya did not bother himself for the upliftment of this dead world, which is suitably named Madhya-līlā, the world where everything is destined to die. He appeared before us 450 years ago to tell us something of the transcendental universe, where everything is permanent and everything is for the service of the Absolute. But recently, Lord Chaitanya has been misrepresented by some unscrupulous persons, and the highest philosophy of the Lord has been misinterpreted to be the cult of the lowest type of society. We are glad to announce tonight that our Acharya Dev, with his usual kindness, saved us from this horrible type of degradation, and therefore we bowed down at his lotus feet with all humility. We are happy that we have been relieved of this horrible type of malady by the mercy of his divine grace. He is our eye-opener, our eternal Father, our eternal preceptor, and our eternal guide. Let us therefore bow down at his lotus feet on this auspicious day. Gentlemen, although we are like ignorant children in the knowledge of transcendence, still my Gurudev has kindled a small fire within us to dissipate the invincible darkness of empirical knowledge. We are now so much on the safe side that no amount of philosophical argument by the empiric schools of thought can deviate us an inch from the position of our eternal dependence on the lotus feet of His divine grace. Wow, and that's how Srila A.C. Bhaktivedānta Swāmī Prabhupād spread Krishna consciousness throughout the whole world, right? We are now so much on the safe side that no amount of philosophical argument by the empiric schools of thought can deviate us an inch from the position of our eternal dependence on the lotus feet of His divine grace. Amazing. No calculation, no sensory analysis. Gentlemen, had He not appeared before us to deliver us from the thraldom of this gross worldly delusion, surely we should have remained for lives and ages in the darkness of helpless captivity. Had He not appeared before us, we would not have been able to understand the eternal truth of the sublime teaching of Lord Chaitanya. Personally, I have no hope for any direct service in the coming crawls of births in the sojourn of my life, but I am confident that some day or other I shall be delivered from this mire of delusion in which I am at present so deeply sunk. Therefore, let me with all my earnestness pray at the lotus feet of my Divine Master to allow me to suffer the lot for which I am destined due to my past misdoings, but to let me have this power of recollection, that I am nothing but a tiny servant of the Almighty Absolute Godhead, realized through the unflinching mercy of my Divine Master. Let me therefore bow down at His lotus feet with all humility at my command. Abhay Charan Das. For members, Sri Gaudiya Math, Bombay. So this lecture was originally published in The Harmonist in 1936 on the Advent Day of His Divine Grace on Vishnupad Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Jai. And then,
what a speech.
What a speech. Amazing. And tomorrow we can hear the introduction by Srila Guru Maharaj. So that will also no doubt be incredible. Jai. I mean, you know, not normal personalities. But in the end, the unflinching calls us mercy from his guru. You know, like the guru is also like not. We may be faltering, but our guru is not. They are completely committed to taking us, and we're the ones
Heavier than the Himalaya.
heavier than the Himalaya. We're the ones flapping around trying to stay connected, but actually they're not going to give up.
But amazing how he says, you know, I have no hope for direct service of the Lord in the coming calls of my lives, but let me with all the sincerity that I can gather, pray to never deviate from the lotus feet of my master. Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Okay. You want to see?
Me?
Yeah.
Hariharaya Nama Kṛṣṇa Yadavaya Namaha.
Hariharaya Nama Kṛṣṇa Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govindaram Srivaru Sundar. Śrīdhar Gopinath Mananamohan.
Shri Caitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra.
Chaitanya Shri Guru Gauranga Sundaradha Giridhari Ji ki jai. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gadhava Govinda Sundar Ji ki jai. Jai Shri Gurudev ki jai. Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Bhagat ki jai. Amacharya Saidas Thakur ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswati London ki jai. All the assembled devotees ki jai. All the world devotees ki jai. Shri